What's up, everybody? Nate here from Out of the Basement, bringing you a brand new action figure review. And today, from Star Wars The Black Series, we are looking at the Hasbro PulseCon exclusive Starkiller and Stormtrooper Deluxe set. Finally, Starkiller is here, and I simply cannot wait to get this set unboxed. So let's jump into it. We have a really nice deluxe packaging here. You can see the front is 3D renders of all the figures, but it is supposed to emulate the cover art of the Force Unleashed game. And then this is actually just like a slip cover. You pull this off. And on the back of the packaging here, you can see this is the actual game art. So they did a pretty great job emulating that on the cover. On this side of the packaging, just like all plastic-free packaging, we have a look at what is included here. So we get tons of stuff with Starkiller. 3 heads, 7 hands, 1 full lightsaber with 3 extra blades, that awesome display stand, and then, yeah, 2 stormtroopers. And on the other side of the packaging, we do have a small bio if you want to pause it and read it now. And then here we have Starkiller in a nice plastic-free packaging situation, and then you fold these flaps out, and here we have our stormtroopers. I'm super stoked to get this set open, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of the accessories, then we'll jump into the actual figure itself. Alright, and let's start out here with the 2 biggest accessories included, and that is a couple of 2020 Stormtroopers. It's always great to have some more 2020 troopers for the ranks, and they look great. And it is worth noting that they do come with the older style E11, not like the Mandalorian version, so that is interesting. We also get quite a few sets of alternate hands. These first 2 here are kind of just like gripping force gestures. They look really nice though with the painted black for the glove. Then we have a standard gripping hand and a force gesture / loose gripping hand here as well. Both of them have trouble holding the lightsaber. The one that you know is definitely meant to, I think they could have made it a little bit tighter because you can kind of see it doesn't want to like grip up with the weapon, especially when you hold it like at this point. It really just wants to slide down there, so that is a little annoying. You kind of have to have him grip it right here if you want to have him hold it solid. We do also get some epic force lightning hands here. One of the hands has a vertical hinge that goes up and down, and then this one has a horizontal hinge. For some reason, it's kind of strange they did 2 different pegs for these hands, but they look pretty great. The blast effects are huge, and they are pretty weighty as well, so I'm really curious to see how over time these actually hold up. Like if Starkiller can have these supported for a long period of time. Because I'm kind of thinking at this moment that these might end up weighing the figure down. But man, do they look awesome. The lightning effects look great. I love that blue translucent plastic. And it's just nice to get so many awesome effect pieces. We don't usually get stuff like this in the Black Series, so I'm just thrilled with how these came out. And the last hand is also a blast effect piece right here. It's another kind of force push hand. You can see the hand itself is actually entirely painted onto the effect, and it looks alright. The fingers are definitely a little bit wonky, but the inside of the piece is hollow, and it kind of has a little piece here so that you can fit it up against figures and kind of make it look flush. I think it works well with the Stormtrooper. And now we'll move on to the lightsaber here, which we only get 1 hilt with the set. A little disappointing if you ask me. I think for the price that we paid for this set, they definitely could have given us a second hilt. But yeah, we do only get 1. It does look pretty good though. It's got some nice silver paint apps on it. You can see we got a little peg here for lightsaber storage, and the hilt is removable. And something important to note on this particular hilt and blade setup, that the blades do have a small notch in them. You can kind of see it right there. So if you want to switch it to the blue saber, make sure that that notch is lined up, otherwise it won't go in correctly. And even then it kind of is a little misshapen, like you want to almost bend it forward. So there's the blue saber connection. We do also get a first time accessory here. This is the blue swooshing effect. We've only previously got this in red. But for Starkiller's saber here, it is actually plugged in like horizontally like you see here. So normally I think it would go facing the other way, but this is how it pegs in. So I'm not sure if this will actually fit in many other sabers, unfortunately. And lastly here is the red swooshing effect. making its second appearance in the Black Series. We first got this with Count Dooku, and it's great to see it back. I think they should definitely include this blade with every character that uses a lightsaber, if you ask me. It just looks so nice. It's a great little effect. Next up, we do have two alternate heads. We have a villainous portrait here, which is definitely not the best likeness to Sam Witwer. I can see what they're going for, and like honestly, if you tilt the head forward like this, it looks pretty good. Like, oh, I see what they were going for. Kind of tilt the head a little bit, and he looks more villainous, but from straight forward, he just kind of looks a little bit like Gollum. It's not the best from certain angles. Get some shadows in there. Like I said, looking like this, you're like, oh, I see what they were going for here. And we also get the full-on screaming head, which is just great to see a Black Series figure come with such an expressive face. More often than not in the Black Series, everything is just a straight-faced figure. So it is really cool when we do actually get a little bit of expression here. Of the entertainment, of course. And I do really like this head. I think this one looks pretty awesome. Again, you kind of tilt it down a little bit and you really get what they were going for. But they did a great job with the sculpting here. The teeth and the tongue, everything looks really nice. The photoreal is cleanly applied. Both definitely have shiny face syndrome. All three heads do, so we might have to matte spray that, get that knocked down. But again, great to see alternate heads, something that we don't get often in the Black Series. And the final accessory here is this wonderful display base with a little force blasting effect. This almost looks like something out of Dragon Ball Z, but we do know that the Force Unleashed is definitely an extreme game where Starkiller has some crazy powers, and this just looks straight off of the cover, which is what they were going for, and I think it's a nice translation. When you get this piece, these are all separate and the base is a separate piece, so you got to peg them in. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but you'll notice that the peg holes line up to certain ones, so there is a specific way to actually put this on the base. And yeah, you can see there are a couple peg holes in there as well. So great spread of accessories here with Starkiller. You pretty much get everything you could possibly want. Like I said, they should have given us another hilt, but otherwise I can't really think of much else that this figure needed to come with. And with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the actual figure itself. Let's take a look at Starkiller. And here is Starkiller out of the packaging, looking absolutely fantastic, even just standing here. No lightsabers, no nothing. This figure looks awesome in my opinion. I'm so happy that we finally have a Starkiller in Black Series form and that it turned out so well. He's got some really great modern Black Series articulation. You can see the butterfly joints, the deep cut elbows, and he even has a pretty nice ab crunch, which is something I've been noticing on some newer Black Series figures, which is great because we need that forward ab crunch in the line. And yeah, I mainly wanted to start out with this look here on the display base because of the hands that are included. These are the ones that are on him in the packaging, which you get two relaxed hands. So it just adds to more of the hands themselves. But let me go ahead and change up the pose real quick. And here we go, a nice villainous pose with the lightsaber just to give it a little bit of a different flavor for the little intro segment here. But yeah, I really don't have too much else to say. I'm just so happy that we finally got a Starkiller figure in Black Series form, and we have so many options. With that being said, let's go ahead, we'll swap the neutral head back on and get a close-up at these details. And here we are up close with that neutral head. This one I think they did a really great job on. I can definitely see the likeness to Sam Witwer. Again, it does suffer from shiny face syndrome, but that's nothing a little Mr. Super Clear can't take care of. But they just did a really nice job. I think the hair looks great. It's got a little bit of texturing detail on it too, which I think helps it stand out and look more like actual hair. The armor bit piece here is a piece of floating softer plastic, so it doesn't really inhibit any of the articulation at all. And there's just some really nice sculpting details here, a little bit of rope action on the arm, lots of ripples and folds in the costume, and even really nice patterns there on the fabric, so to speak, itself. Got some battle damage over on this arm as well, which, hey, a little bit of blood there. That's actually pretty interesting to see from a Star Wars figure these days. Definitely could look better, but I do appreciate it anyways. And yeah, the costume just looks really accurate to the game. The colors are solid. All the details seem to be in place. You know, Starkiller and his 800 straps here, which thankfully have some nicely painted details. Not all on the belt, but there are a couple hits of silver throughout. And you can see the back, there is really no paint on it at all. There's plenty of buckles and straps and stuff. And he does also have all the different plugs for the lightsaber storage as well, which is a really nice touch. I'm glad they did add that. And the legs are the newer articulation update where the thigh cut has been removed and it is incorporated into the hip. So we get a nice clean looking sculpt there, which just like the undershirt looks awesome. And the boots themselves have some nice wrap details on them. And it's just a solid looking figure. We do also get a little bit more blood here on the back of his arm as well. And he just looks awesome. Definitely a figure that I think was worth the wait. They absolutely nailed that default look of Starkiller here. And even though this figure is still pretty new in the collection, I really just can't wait to see what other versions of the character they are going to give us. So let's go ahead and just jump into that articulation now. Starkiller is a modern Black Series figure, so we do get a double neck peg here, and he can look up pretty far, look down just a little bit. Do get plenty of side to side here and rotation as well. The shoulders do move all the way out, and they can rotate around. He does also have butterfly joints, which have plenty of range here. The arm is on a single elbow, and it does go just over 90 degrees, and it swivels. And the lightsaber gripping hand that I have on him thankfully has the vertical hinge, and this force gesture hand also has the vertical hinge. As far as the crunch is concerned, we do get a nice bit forward, which I think is much needed for Starkiller. And back we get a lot as well, along with rotation and plenty of side to side. So, I mean, it could definitely be more dynamic for sure, but I think what we do get here works really well. As mentioned earlier, there is no thigh swivel. It's incorporated into the hip joint, so we do still get some rotation, but definitely not as much as we would have. The leg itself can kick really far forward. Nice range there with the foot on the ground. We get the total splits with Starkiller and a really great kickback. Single jointed knee that gives you more than 90 degrees by just a little bit and does have rotation. And then the foot can move all the way down, can go up just a little bit, and he does have ankle pivot. So for the most part, I think his articulation is really great. The crunch forward is a nice touch. The butterfly joints having so much range is greatly appreciated. I've just been having so much fun posing him around with all of these different accessories. And with the inclusion of all of these accessories, it's really just making me want to get another one of these figures once the standard release comes out so I can actually utilize all of them. And so with the details and the articulation out of the way, let's go ahead and start to wrap things up here with a few comparisons to some other Black Series figures. And we'll get things started with a couple Darth Vaders. First, on the left, it's the Empire Strikes Back, and on the right, it is the Kenobi Vader, which is also just the 2017 A New Hope Vader with some slight tweaks to it. Next up, we've got the Return of the Jedi Emperor Palpatine and the Cantina Showdown Obi-Wan Kenobi. Moving on, we have the Empire Strikes Back Archive Boba Fett, and then one of those 2020 Stormtroopers. Then we've got some other troopers from the game as well. We have the Shadow Stormtrooper and the Stormtrooper Commander, both Gaming Greats figures. And lastly, we have the Imperial Guard with a custom cape from Josh's Custom Capes. And it's great that after all of this time and having all of these villains from the game, we finally have the character to actually fight them. So yeah, if you couldn't tell by now, I absolutely love this figure. What an absolutely epic set here from Hasbro. Everything that is included is exactly what you need from a Starkiller figure. And to me, this was 100% worth the wait. And while this was a very expensive set, to me, someone who is a diehard Star Wars fan, it was easily worth it for the pickup in my collection. Although I can definitely understand anyone out there who wants to wait for a standard version of this figure to come. But for me, these accessories is what makes collecting the Black Series so much fun, and everything that we get here is not typically what we get for the Black Series. So when they go all out, I love to see it, and I'm happy that they chose to do that with STARKILLER. And so there you have it. There was my review. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you are new. We're always talking about Star Wars The Black Series here on the channel. I got to give a special shout out and a big thank you to all of our current channel members. Your continued support is truly appreciated. And thank you to everyone else out there for watching. I'm Nate from Out of the Basement, and I will see you next time.